It's time to talk about the unicorn. It's exactly what we're going to be doing on the first half of this video, talking about Kristaps Porzingis' impact on the Celtics. The second half of the video is going to be about a new trade rumor that could make the Celtics that much better. But first, show some love for Kristaps Porzingis by liking this video. Yo, Celtics fans, what is going on? I'm your host of Celtics Today by Chat Sports, Allie Barefoot, and I already told you guys on today's show the top two topics we are going to be talking about. Kristaps Porzingis is an absolute matchup nightmare against pretty much everybody. And then the second half of the video, we're going to be talking about a possible trade, not big, but could be significant for Naji Marshall. First and foremost, the Latvian unicorn. Let's go ahead and break down what Kristaps Porzingis did last night versus the Houston Rockets. I question whether or not he should even really be playing that game as Al Horford rested, but nonetheless, we see why he was playing that game. 32 points against Houston, 6 rebounds, 5 monster blocks, 3 6-point shots made. We saw him coming out really hot against Denver Nuggets 2 games ago, and then again last night against the Rockets. He was 11 for 21 from the field. He's getting better game after game. What's even better is that Joe Mazzulla is recognizing his game. He was a complete matchup nightmare for the Houston Rockets. There was not a single player on the Rockets that could be able to defend him. It was just baby food, as Smitty would call it, down in the paint for Kristaps Porzingis. It just was not working at all for the Houston Rockets. And what's even better is that the Boston Celtics are happy Kristaps is on their roster. And what's even more better is that Kristaps Porzingis loves being in Boston. I can see why. They're the hottest team in the Eastern Conference, damn near the entire NBA. And thanks to Kristaps Porzingis being that missing link, we hope that he stays here for a while. Let's see what Kristaps Porzingis had to say about his time in Boston. He said, "I cannot think of another fan base in the NBA that's like this one. Absolutely a blessing to play in front of these fans." And this was during an away game, guys. He talked about how many Celtics fans were in Houston's arena, which is something you love to see. The next thing I love to see is KP's efficiency, where he shoots, how he shoots, and what goes in. The fact that his mid-range shots right now are 50% is fantastic. His post-up shots are even better. We saw this going head-to-head with Jokic, the Joker, the former MVP. He was taking them to the rim. Same thing last night for the Houston Rockets. His post-ups are 69%, which is fantastic. The piece that we were missing for the Boston Celtics, some would call it unbelievable. Those people are Smitty. But the unfortunate part is that with Kristaps Porzingis being 7'3", being a unicorn, he does need to rest sometimes. And the reason why I'm not taking this report that serious is because he was out last week. I can't remember who the opponent was, but it was for the same right knee inflammation. In code of Joe Mazzulla's term, rest. Do I agree that he's sitting against the Dallas Mavericks? No, I don't. I don't understand why he continues to sit KP against some pretty dominant opponents, but I'm not Joe Mazzulla, so if KP really does have right knee inflammation and tonight is a night it just got worse, I understand. However, I have seen this as a trend the past few games of sitting KP to keep him healthy, which I'm not opposed to, but I would like to get that win. But nonetheless, of course, when this trade did happen in the offseason, I think a lot of us were scratching our heads in terms of, well, KP's injury prone. What can KP do for the Boston Celtics that he hasn't done for the Wizards and other teams that he's played for? And we are all really sad to see Marcus Smart go. But do you think the Kristaps Porzingis trade has really made up for losing Marcus Smart? We're at 40 games so far this season. We've seen what Smart can do for the Grizzlies. Do you guys think we won that trade? Type Y for yes, type N for no. And like I said, coming up next, we are going to talk about a new name here on Boston Celtics Today. And of course, that is Naji Marshall. A trade that could, like I said, move the needle a little bit for the Boston Celtics. But first, I do need to tell you guys about Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in America. I'm playing it literally every single game day, whether I should be or not, but it's just so much fun. And take it from me, I used to never put money down on games. Wasn't my thing. I'm not good at math, and I used to just always lose my money. So it wasn't fun for me. Well, Prize Picks actually does make it pretty easy for you to win some money, or at least up to 25 times your money on pretty much any entry. So my picks for tonight's games are to have DeJounte Murray having more than 8 assists, Damian Lillard to have more than 27 points, and Victor Wembanyama to have more than 22 points. Why no Celtics picks? Because right now, PrizePicks does have a nice little square that you can click on that says popular. And it lets you know how many people in America are making these picks. These are 3 of the most popular picks on PrizePicks right now. So I was like, okay, let's see what all the hype's about. I'm going to go with what America's choosing. If you guys want to choose along with me or make your own picks, all you guys have to do is go to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Be sure to use promo code CLNS for first time deposit match up to $100. And like I said, you can watch yourself win some real money in real time. Now, are the Celtics trading for Naji Marshall? This is not a big name on the trade market right now. We have not heard a peep from Brad Stevens on whether or not he's actually looking to trade for anybody right now. But there has been one report that did stand out to me, not necessarily about Naji Marshall, but just about the Celtics as a whole. Smitty and I have talked about this before, saying the Celtics really can't afford to make a big trade right now. So Chris Haynes of TNT did report out that any trade the Boston Celtics do make will be minuscule, will be small, will probably be something to beef up the bench, which you all know I am not opposed to. I think we can always use help in that area. So what would Naji Marshall be bringing to the Boston Celtics? Let's break down and get to know this player a little bit more. He's in his 4th season with the Pelicans, and of course, you guys know Smitty is a huge college basketball fan, so we had to put that little piece in there about where he went to college. In case you guys are wondering, he went to Xavier. He's making $1.9 million right now, which is fantastic for the Boston Celtics. He'll be an undrafted free agent in the offseason. So Brad Stevens could always wait just a few months. And he's an efficient scorer. He's a fantastic defender, and he's got some sneaky handles, which we have seen from a few Boston Celtics players this season. So overall, he sounds like a good addition to come off the bench, especially when he's averaging just about 8 points per game through 34 games this season. His rebounding is also great. We've seen O'Shea Brissett as somebody that comes off the bench and just crashes to the board, which is something that Naji Marshall could also help with in the depth chart. Field goal percentage is fine, 45.5%. I really like those numbers. His three-point percentage is fantastic, 38.5%, especially from somebody that's been a little bit more consistent like Peyton Pritchard. To have somebody come in shooting on an average 38%, I like those numbers a lot. And you know what? At 18 minutes per game, he can just slide right in. He really can. We have seen a lot of different faces in the rotation coming off the bench, like O'Shea Brissett is now starting to carve his name in there. Peyton Pritchard's kind of fallen down the depth chart. Luke Cornett has finally stepped up. So to have somebody like Naji Marshall, like I said, nothing fancy. I truly think in the Celtics offense, the way Joe Mazzulla runs, Naji can get his points per game up to 10 instead of 8 this season. I think he'd be a great addition. However, that's just my opinion. What do you guys think? Do the Boston Celtics trade for Naji Marshall? Type T for trade, type P for pass. I think if it doesn't hurt, might as well. If you're not giving up anything big, why not? And this is a trade that Smitty actually broke down here. Celtics would receive Naji Marshall. The Pelicans would receive a 2024 second-round pick and 2027 second-round pick. That's beautiful. You're not saying goodbye to anybody. You're not going to break up that team photo they took in the plane. You're not going to have to cross somebody out. You're just giving up a little bit of stock. The Celtics do have a lot of stock right now, and Brad Stevens says he is fine paying whatever he needs to pay to be able to make this team win banner 18. Well, draft picks might be the thing you have to pay. Plus, Marshall has been efficient, but hasn't found its consistency with New Orleans. They've got a little bit of a mishap there in New Orleans. You know, Herb Jones is also on the trade market as well. Zion Williamson playing off and on with his injuries. So this would be a no-brainer, in my opinion, to just get if the asking pro is lice. This is not a blockbuster trade. This is not going to make the starting 5 look any different. This is just going to be a new player in the locker room, possibly send somebody down back to the G League to make some room for him. So overall, I see no problem with this, especially if he cannot find his rhythm in New Orleans with the Pelicans right now. We actually do have an insider here at Chat Sports. He goes by the name of Patrick Seatman. You might have heard of him. He actually did go to Xavier, and he had nothing but great things to say about Naji Marshall, which is the main thing here because you guys have seen the family photos, the team pictures of them on the plane. You've seen the locker room camaraderie. You know this team is just feeling good about themselves. You do not want to bring somebody in that's bad drama. Well, Seep says that he's a really likable guy. He's a great teammate, and he's a character guy, which means he'll have no issue playing with the Boston Celtics. And you know what? He's 25 years old. So if he does come to the Boston Celtics and finds it to be a good role player, I'd want to keep him for a couple more years, especially at that age. You don't really want to add any older guys. You got 2 players in the starting 5 right now who are over 30 years old. So why not keep them a little bit more JT range? So overall, the fact that Patrick Steepman gives him the okay means I do too. But this is just one player that we have introduced to you guys in Celtics Today that the Boston Celtics could trade for. What is your dream scenario at the trade deadline for Boston? Do you want Brad Stevens to make one of these little very minuscule trades just to beef up, move the needle an inch or two? Or do you like the Boston Celtics exactly the way they are right now? Go ahead and comment that down below. And if you enjoyed today's show, if you like hanging out with Smitty and I, go ahead and like that video. We are going to be live tonight around 8:15 p.m. Eastern Time, breaking down the Celtics and Mavericks game 4. So if you guys are going to be joining that watch party, like the video. If you want the Boston Celtics to beat the Dallas Mavericks, like the video. And if you enjoyed today's show, like the video.